In this session, we would solve some of the questions which were asked in your August 2024 NET paper across various sections. So let's focus on the very first question. Now note, we have tried to incorporate the most different and difficult kind of questions which were asked in your NET examination, and this would give you an idea about how to prepare and what to prepare for your upcoming examinations for NET. The first question that we are trying to discuss here talks about computers. So dash is the brain of computer. So we know CPU, or the central processing unit, is the brain of the computer, and the dash processor made by Intel is an example of it. So what is the name of the processor? Pentium is the name of the processor. So we have the first fill in the blank, which is CPU. The second one would be Pentium, which is the name of processor. Now the next says the speed of the processor is measured in. So the speed is measured in hertz. So hertz is the unit for the frequency. So you have speed measured in hertz. Now it says which of this is a volatile memory and which of this holds a small piece of in software known as boot up program. So the boot up is in the read only memory. So that's the ROM. Right? And which is a volatile memory? RAM, random access memory, is the volatile memory. Now this we have covered when we have discussed the basics and the fundamentals of computing, but this was a kind of different question because here a fill in the blank was asked and it actually was intended to understand a deeper knowledge about the subject, because variety of things were brought into one question itself. The next question is blog. Now blog is what? It is a list of posts which is there on the website, and usually this is by a single author and specifically targeting to a single subject. So for example, if I am highly interested in travel, I would write a blog which is related to travel. If I am highly interested into food, I'll write about different cuisines of the world, and that would be a blog explaining every cuisine in a different blog, right? So these are a series of posts, and it's maintained in a form by a single author on a relatively single subject, and therefore this would be the correct answer. Now all these terms are available in the postal code, so if you go onto the table that we have put, you would find all this and you have to simply memorize and remember those. Now this is a really interesting question. Descriptions of actual words which could be written or spoken and are used to tell stories, and images or pictures come under which category? So the correct answer here is discourse. Now what is discourse? Discourse is usually a discussion that happens through speech. So when there is language that comes into action, there is a medium which could be a written medium, it could be a verbal or a oral medium, and it could be in the form of story, it could be in a form of conversation, but all of those are called as discourse. However, if we talk about other terms, event is basically two things, how they happen and the flow of that. Law is a set of rules, and performance is when you are trying to showcase your skill set. So that is what is performance. So here the correct answer would be discourse. Now coming on to the next question. Now this is a really interesting question, a very simple question indeed. So questions on fallacies every time being asked, and this is one of those. Now understand, there are three statements that are given. Let's first take each statement individually. So let me take the first statement. Molecules are in random motion. That's correct, 100% correct. So I say this is a true statement. Now, Qutub Minar is composed of molecules. So everything which is in nature is composed of molecules. So that's again true. Now both these statements are true independently. Understand what I'm trying to bring into focus here. Both these statements are true independently. Now what happens when I combine this statement? Qutub Minar is in constant random motion. Now this composition that I have done, because of the two independent sentences being correct, is an incorrect composition, and therefore we call it as a fallacy. And this fallacy is because of the two statements that I have tried to bring together here, and therefore this is a composition fallacy or fallacy of composition. Very, very interesting question and very simple to identify. The other fallacies we have covered extensively with numerous examples in the lectures. So go through them. Every time you have at least one question related to fallacy, and take my words, if you understand the concept carefully, there is no reason that you would make a mistake in this question. But a lot of students I have seen are afraid just by the name fallacy. Oh, I won't be able to do that. No, please don't do that. These are really simple, interesting questions. The only logic, if you understand, it's very simple to solve. The next question is, if you want to understand the theoretical reasons that led to a research to conduct a study in a research article or a journal, you would read the section of the research article. Now, this question specifically targets to help you understand whether you are fluent in reading research papers or not. So, let's say I want to do a research, right? And for the same research, I have identified 50 similar research articles. Now, it's not practically possible for me to skim through each of the articles before I try to develop understanding about a broader view about the concept. So what I do is, rather than going through each of the 50 articles, I go through the starting section, which is the abstract, which is actually a quick summary or the gist of the complete research article. So what I do is, I read that abstract for 50 articles and then I develop into a concept that yes, this is how the research should progress, and these are the key things which have been taken into consideration in each and every research. So what I do read is, I read abstract. So abstract is the correct answer here. Correct. Now let's move on to another question. So here you have certain terms and the meanings of those terms. So decision making, what is this? I evaluate the various options that are given to me, and then based on that I take a choice. So decision making is evaluating alternatives and making choice among them. So A goes with 4. So that's the correct match. Confirmation. Now what is confirmation? I actually search for various information. I gather ideas and support for those ideas rather than the negatives, right? So I'm trying to confirm my view. So I would pick up only the things which are positive in nature, not the things which are negatively intended, right? So confirmation goes with 3. It's a tendency to search and use information which supports our idea rather than refusing the ideas. Clear? The next is belief preservance. Belief preservance is, I believe that this is what is true, correct? So what I do is, I meet only those people, or I gather my views only from those people who believe in the same proposition, right? So that is, I want to preserve my belief. I don't want my belief to get shattered, right? So it is a tendency to hold the belief in face of any evidence. It could be even a contradictory evidence. So whenever I find a situation where I can actually stand by what I believe, that is what is belief preservance. The next is overconfidence biasness. So as the name suggests, it is overconfidence and biasness. So whenever you have more confidence in judgment, then we should actually think about what would be the probability of success, right? So what we do is, sometimes we over-rely on what we know. We over-rely on our knowledge, on our beliefs, rather than looking onto the actual facts and figures. So that leads us into a problem situation, and that's what is called as the overconfidence biasness. Because I'm overconfident about certain thing, there would be a biasness, and that you can simply explain through while you are marking the answers. Let's say you are overconfident that okay, any question of coding decoding, I am set to do it right? So possibly you might skip something, and what is the fact or the information that is given, you might overlook and you might commit a wrong answer in that scenario, right? So this is what is a overconfidence biasness. So these were just few of the questions that we have discussed. Wait for us for the next class, and we'll be coming up with many more interesting questions which are part of your NET paper 1. Different kind of questions which have been asked. So prepare well, study well. In case you have any questions or queries, feel free to connect back on the number below. Thanks for joining in today.